Make Space for Architecture, an independent platform promoting the agency of architecture in Sydney. Wait for these slides to turn over because everything's been covered. Look, we campaign with decision makers. We inform and mobilise the community. We like to think we catalyse that in our courtesy of SHIFA, Sydney Harbour Foreshore Authority. We had a wonderful month in this space. This event was a bunch of students who decided of their own accord from 3 different universities to come together for a model making workshop. Other events have drawn more of a crowd. This is an event we had where the Museum of Contemporary Art was the point of discussion. It was a fairly heated event, and to say the least. But what's interesting is the amount of ongoing criticism and discussion that's come from this. Far more than we ever imagined. We were a little clunky in the way we put it together, but we've had some very eloquent articles since. Third event I want to talk about, and then I'm going to shift onto something completely different. This was a little discussion where we opened up the question, is architecture in crisis? Yes, architecture is in crisis. It's always in crisis. That's the nature of architecture, are the conclusions we came to. But I want to talk about images. I actually want to talk about images tonight and the way architects imagine, through images. This is Corbusier's plan for Voisin in Paris in 1925. It's all about a response to the street and the fact that the street is congested and polluted and not a nice place to be. Hans Hollein created this beautiful photo montage which places an aircraft carrier in the landscape as a sort of poignant critique of Corbusier's work, saying this is a machine for living in, let's live in it, in a landscape. And then you start to see a normative version of this, which is literally the scale of a ship in the landscape, maybe a ship of the desert. This is a project by Snohita, just west of Dubai. And I think what you start to see here is some of the polemic from the past coming forward and being normalised through practice in the present. Now, architects more and more are producing images that are photorealistic, and you start to lose the sense of what is existing and what the idea is that's overlaid on these things. And what you see in this image is not actually Sydney. This is a rendering of Sydney. The background is all fake, all false. Residents Action Group for Barangaroo, however, give you a very coarse reading of what they feel is happening at Barangaroo, taken from eye-level perspective, a place where you can sort of see how it's going to affect you as you walk through the city. You can see the hotel there has a very commanding presence in the harbour. Let's find where I'm up to in my notes. So here we have an aerial of Sydney, and I think Sydney, this is a real aerial of Sydney. I think what we read here is almost an inverse photo montage where you see the city is actually a layering of history, and the stories of past ideas you read as a layering through the built environment. And of course there's Pacha's Casino, which really I don't think is a serious proposal, but a political tool, the montage being used as a political tool. The authorship of this image is unclear. We don't know which architectural practice produced this, as far as I'm aware, but it's a very... Hassel in Perth. Thank you. What's your name? So we're going back in time to 60s and 70s, and here we see Koolhaas, Exodus on London. This is a critique of the Berlin Wall and of division within the city. Every time we build a structure in the city, we actually contain space, and containing space restricts people. In Melbourne, more recently, carrying on that tradition, we have Ed Godsall and Corrigan, who took up the Occupy Melbourne cause and have actually proposed a wall around Melbourne. This is a hypothetical project. I think it's designed to create conjecture and maybe a little bit of concern. But I've got to read a quote here for this. They refer to this as a beautiful instrument of division. The exquisite brickwork in this wall provides the best possible opportunity for this wall of division that keeps people safe either side of the wall. I'm not necessarily saying this is a good idea, but good work, but there is great potency in these images, these montages. And here we have another project by Godsall and Corrigan, which is a refugee family unit. This is not much larger than a dog kennel. It's a place a refugee can live on your back lane, no longer living in the enclosure of the processing plant, but they live in the comfort of your back lane and assimilate with society. These sorts of photo montages architects are producing, and I think are going to produce more and more in these uncertain times. The comments on the website, let me find my comment. This is despicable. How do you feel enabling such a punitive policy? You ought to be ashamed. These are dangerous images, right? But I think when you have the backstory, the montage is a very powerful tool, and it's the way architects project futures on the city. And I think speculation in this way is healthy as long as you have the backstory. Via these sorts of techniques, montages and other, make space for architecture, promote the ability of architecture to affect positive change on the city. A compelling alternative is a powerful form of criticism. Thanks.